Today we're going to be working on a symmetrical flower arrangement in a vase. So the supplies you'll need are one sheet of watercolor paper, a pair of scissors, some water, a watercolor palette, some brushes, a pencil, and a spray bottle with water. So the first thing that we're going to want to do is take our paper and fold it hot dog style. And since we're using thick watercolor paper, you want to make sure that you fold on the correct side of the grain. And it will be a little tough to fold this paper. So if you're working with younger students, you might need to lend a hand. And it's going to be a little crumpled up, but that's okay because at the end we're actually going to crumple it a little anyway to add some cool texture to it. Alright, so once we've folded our paper, we're going to take one side and then we're going to draw a line about halfway across with our pencil. Like so. And then what we're going to do is on this bottom half, we're going to draw half of a vase of any shape they want to. Alright, so there is our vase, and then above our vase, we're going to add our flowers. So a great way to start this is to draw a little circle or a half circle right up here, and that'll be the limit of where the farthest reaching flower should be for them. Doesn't have to be perfect. It just needs to be lightly done. And now they can be as creative as they want to with their flowers. They can put any kind they want, and they can overlap and learn about how overlap adds depth in an arrangement like this. So we're just going to go ahead and draw our flowers now. And they just need to be simple, quick and easy, nothing too complicated, because we are going to end up repeating them on the other side. Make sure to encourage them to make their flowers all different sizes, as the variation will make the piece more interesting. Alright, and when they have it about this full, this is when you're going to want them to start drawing the stems. Ask them questions like, do you think there would be leaves on these flowers? Where would you put them? Would your flowers have thorns? Try to encourage them to make their flowers unique. Let them be as creative as they can be. See if they can invent a new type of flower, one that doesn't exist. So once they get their stems drawn, we're going to want to cut the shape out. When they get to the flowers and the stems, they're just going to go to the outermost part. They're not going to cut inside this area right here. So we're going to cut this while it's folded so that the other side will become symmetrical. when cutting around the flowers, it doesn't need to be super detailed. They don't have to go into every single crack and crevice. As long as they just add a little wave around the stems and the flowers to make their edges interesting. And it's going to be tough to cut through these 2 layers of paper, so just be patient, you've got this. Alright, and then we'll just set our scrap pieces aside. And what you'll be left with is this. And then when you open it up and fold it flat, you end up with a perfectly symmetrical flower and vase. So at this point, we're going to have the students go ahead and try to add the flowers from this side exactly like on this side. This is a great chance for them to learn about symmetry and see how that will balance their piece out. By having them copy the flowers to the other side, it really helps them have a better concept of it helps them get a better idea of the symmetry in a piece. It makes it a little more complicated, but this is great for older kids. And not only will this teach them about symmetry, this will also help train their eye, so that when they're drawing in the future, they'll learn to take in details and sketch those details out. So once you have the flowers drawn on that side, make sure to add the stems in. Alright, so once you have your stems done, you have this on the top and this on the bottom. And this is a great opportunity to talk to the students as well about balance and how balance affects your piece. So as you can see, the top is very busy and the bottom is plain, and that shows balance in the piece. If the bottom were busy and the top were busy as well, that would be too much. Or if the top was very plain and the bottom was very plain, it would be boring to look at. So it's a great opportunity to talk to the students about how you need to have some busy areas and then you need to have some plain areas, because you want the eye to be drawn to what's important, and what is important in this piece are the flowers. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and crumple this up so we can add extra texture to this piece. This is going to be really cool once we add watercolor to this, because the watercolor pigment will pool into the cracks and it'll really be an interesting piece. This will also be fun for the kids. Just make sure that they don't tear anything when they're doing this, but they can crinkle it up however they want to. You know, they can have fun playing around with this. Tell them to be careful not to smudge their pencil marks though, but otherwise they can go ham. And there's no right or wrong way to do this. You know, if you want a piece that isn't as crumpled up, that's fine. And if you want a piece that looks like it's been through a blender, that's okay too. Personally, I want mine to be very crumpled up because I think this is a really interesting part of this piece. Alright, so once you've crumpled it all up, we're going to go ahead and get started on coloring this with the watercolors. So for me, I'm going to make my vase gray. I think that that will be a nice way to let the bright colors of the flowers pop. So once you have the bottom of your vase done, you'll just want to let that dry for a little bit before you move on to the flowers. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and move on to the stems. So what we are going to do is we're going to color green up to just before these flowers. And we're going to ignore the blank spaces here in the flowers because we're going to make this all different florally spring colors. Alright, so now that we have the green added, we're going to let that dry. And this is a good time to get your pastel colored cakes ready. And we're going to have a lot of fun with this because we're going to go ham with this, and we're not going to worry about following the flower shapes or the flower petals because you'll still be able to see the pencil through. And another thing you can do after you're done painting this and take it a step further, you can get a fine tip Sharpie and you can outline the flowers. Or if you have little kids, you can use Crayola extra fine washable markers. Alright, and once that's dry, we're going to go ahead and we're going to wet a big portion of these flowers first before we add our color. So go ahead and lay the water down. This way it'll be easier to mix the different colors together because we're going to make it a sort of tie-dye effect. Alright, and we should limit our colors to about 3 pastel colors. So I'm going to make one a pink color, and I'm going to add that now. And you can add these at random. And it should spread out once you put that down. And then the next color I'm going to add is a pastel purple. And then for this last color, I'm going to add a sort of pastel orange. Okay, so I have one side of the flowers done so far, and this is kind of the effect that we're looking for. And again, to try to keep this symmetrical, on this other side we're going to try to see where did we have certain colors, and we're going to try to put them in the same areas. It doesn't have to be perfect. But it is a great way to teach kiddos about symmetry in their work and how that affects their piece. Okay, so once you finish painting your flowers, make sure to let them dry. And then if you don't want to outline your flowers and vase, that's fine, then you're done. But if you do, you want to grab that marker and be ready. And you want to be ready to outline the pencil marks. Alright, so my piece is mostly dry now. So what we're going to want to do now is we're going to take either an extra fine tip Sharpie or a Crayola extra fine tip washable marker, and we're going to outline the pencil marks that we drew earlier. The only thing I would suggest is not outlining your stems, because it's going to be really busy and they're going to get muddy because they're going to be right next to each other. So outline your flowers, but I wouldn't outline the stems. Alright, and then once you have your flowers outlined, this is the final product. Thank you for watching.